Hi guys and welcome back to IamCasa. Today we're heading down to the Gerald Charles 8.0 Squelette after you've seen it for sure on social media in the last few days. It is a watch that made a huge step up for the whole brand, as it was very complicated to achieve the result they did with this watch, and it surely paves the way for future complication and development of the brand. But it's a watch that doesn't come from out of the blue for the brand, as we have origins for it, and today we're diving into the before and after of the skeletonization for Gerald Charles and how it was achieved nowadays. Let's start with the Maestro 99 Tourbillon, a watch that we had from the Gerald Charles Museum and Archives, just to have a look of how the brand started with this whole philosophy of skeletonization and the way they did it before. It's a watch that comes from the beginning of year 2000, when the brand was actually founded by Mr. Gerald Charles, and it is a watch that is super coherent with what we see nowadays. We don't have just a skeletonized watch in this case, as we have a whole bunch of complications on it. We have a tourbillon and we have a monopusher chronograph coaxial in crown, which have the stylems of the Gerald Charles brand, such as the Maestro case in palladium, and which is, as you can see, pretty thick, but obviously with an opened case back that shows the movement, that also has a column wheel that is super interesting. It's a pretty big watch, but a watch that shows the whole identity of the brand and where it all came from Mr. Gerald Charles. But what you can see on this watch was actually reinterpreted and in some sort of ways redesigned for the new Squelette. We have a completely new watch with the, let's say, usual Maestro case, so a really thinner case and a bit smaller that now fits also my wrist, that is like a ballerina one, with a whole new skeletonization. What I really see as a plus between the two watches is that this one, the new one, is way more legible than the previous one, as the main goal for a skeletonized watch is to make it legible and readable, so usable. And for usability, this one, being also not a chronograph and whatever, is also more water resistant, so it's a sport watch on every aspect. And the third thing I have noticed is that this one has actually a micro rotor that makes it automatic, while this one was hand wound, being also a tourbillon, which makes complete sense. But what was special about these two watches in my hand is the fact that this one was designed by Mr. Gerald, as he has the name on it and the signature on it, while that one was redesigned by Octavio Garcia, who was a designer previously for Omega and Audemars Piguet, so worked with Genta in Audemars Piguet and now on a design. And the main goal for this watch was to find a movement that fit the Maestro case, which is pretty hard. Let's now focus on my favorite detail about the watch. It is on the dial, which, as you know, being a Squelette, a dial doesn't really exist, but we find a certain pattern of the whole bridges and finishing of the watch, making it look like a sky chart, which is actually declared as inspired by a sky chart. But what I love about it is that picking up this watch, the old one, so the one from the museum, let's say, we find on the backside of the watch kind of the same pattern, and this really makes me wonder about what was in Gerald Charles' mind when he designed it. But actually, this is as much as what was in Octavio's mind when he designed the new one, and finding details as this one, which we can say it's hidden because it's in the case back of the old model, is something that really makes me see how the legacy of the brand was carried out from the beginning to the end, or the actual present. So this really takes the cake as my favorite detail ever, and it makes actually the watch more legible, being pretty much geometric in some sort of ways. I love how the overall dial is become a little bit more dark, and how the hands are white and not blue, as on this one that are really not that much legible. So today we have witnessed how a concept is carried out from the original designer to a new generation of both the brand and the watch designer behind the product, leading to a completely new watch that is more wearable, more usable, being automatic, being slimmer, being in steel and not in palladium, and with really many details. And for this we have two details I want to see if you spotted. One on the dial side, I could not indicate it unless it's too easy like that, and one on the back side. So let me know in the comments if you spotted the two details I'm referring to. And the overall result is literally a watch that I can pull off completely, and that looks pretty great on the wrist, being, as I said, more slim and smaller. So let me know your thoughts about the watch and about how it was carried out and reinterpreted from the past to the present. Thank you for being here, and see you in the next video.